Ruben Amorim's first official interview was released yesterday, and what an interview it was. We're going to run through some of the key quotes that I picked out regarding the interview, which gives us a little bit of an insight into what's going to be going on, hopefully with United going forward. United may be forced to make a transfer decision soon. Romano gives an update on transfers, including Nkunku, and a rundown of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video and let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with the Ruben Amorim quotes. Now, I don't know if you've seen the interview. Let me know if you have. Let me know what you think in the comments. I've got to be honest, I really liked it. I really liked what Amorim had to say. I really liked the way he came across and carries himself. I thought he had some really kind of interesting quotes and comments coming from the interview. I'm not going to go through all of it because it was like 11 to 12 minutes long, so we'll be here all day going through that, but just going to go through a couple of the kind of key points that I picked up from the interview, share my thoughts on them, and then you can get involved in the comments and let me know what you think as well. So for those who haven't seen it, he was asked, do you want a strong link between the academy and the first team coming together? And Amorim's answer was the following. He said, I think it's important because a lot of people now talk about the 3-4-3 and the 4-3-3 and all that stuff. But when I think as a player or as a teammate of Manchester United, it's not a system or a formation. It's like the character of the players, the way they see the clubs. So we have to focus on that before everything of how we play and how we press. The most important thing for me is at this moment is to create the principles, the identity and the character that we had in the past. So Amorim, when asked that direct question around, kind of answered it in a really nice way, saying, look, it's not about the formation, it's about the character of the team and how the kind of, because and he's right in what you're saying. If you think of all the United teams, great teams in the past, you don't think, oh, well, we played 4-4-2. We played 4-3-3 or we played 4-2-3-1. We just look at the players that we had, you know, the Keanes, the Scholeses, Giggses, those sort of players, Vidic, Rio, you could go on, Rooney, Van Nistelrooy. I mean, all of these players had something about them and they had that kind of character, and the formation and the tactics and everything kind of goes out the window because sometimes we would win games because of the character of the team, not just because of the tactics or the style of play or anything along those lines. And I love the fact that Amorim picked up on that as a kind of point, and also one of his key kind of things that he wants to do when he comes in. He's kind of said himself, forget the formations and the tactics, like it's the character that we want. We want to kind of have the same character that we did from the past. Whether or not we've got those characters in the squad, who knows, because football is a little bit different now, but I love the fact that that's the kind of identity he's looking for, and that's one of his key principles would be going back to get the character and the character on the pitch, that kind of arrogance, that confidence that's just been evaporated from the club over recent years. So I love that. I love that response from Amorim. And then he asked what drives his football philosophy. So he said, in one word, team. The team is the most important thing for me. If you work as a team, then the talent individually is going to shine. But if you have to explain the importance of everything, it is the character and the way we fight, the way we play. We must have an identity. If our players take off the shirt, they will know that this is a Manchester United team. Everybody thinks the same, running back, playing, enjoying, and that's what drives me. I can say the popular thing, which is to win. Everybody wants to win, and I want to win with my players, with the fans, but with an identity and one idea. That is the thing that I'm focused on all of the time. And again, really loved this response there, Ruben Amorim. Not just the fact that, you know, he didn't just give a blasé standard answer and he said it himself, look, I could say that I just want to win, but that's not what he wants. And the kind of going back to the original point, what he said was the most important thing of his philosophy is playing as a team. And that's been one of my criticisms, and I know some of you have shared that in the comments as well, is that we play like a team of strangers with 11 individuals on the pitch that are all out for themselves. And I love the fact that Amorim's kind of identified that almost straight away to say, look, we need to play as a team. He's mentioned character. He said there about that it's identity that he's kind of looking for. And there's another quote that I'm going to go through. These are really, really important factors because we know that Ineos also want an identity and a style of play. That's one of the reasons why Ten Hag is not here, is because he failed to live up to the kind of the expectations that Ineos wanted, which was a consistent style of play so that they could build the foundations for the team from that. And Ten Hag just kept chopping and changing and going from different tactics to different formations, which is ultimately what's cost him his job. But I love the fact that Amorim's come in straight away and identified some really key important areas: character, teamwork, and then an identity, which I absolutely love. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then the next kind of point that he made was asked if coming in the middle of the season, what are your key priorities? He said, we know we will need time, but we have to win time. Love that. To win time is to win games. But the most important thing for me is identity. So since day one, we will start with our identity. Of course, we're going to prepare the games, but we will focus a lot on our game model, how to play, how to press, how to play, how to press, these small things, these small details. You cannot get 100% on every detail because it will be confusing for the player. So if I have to say one thing, my first goal is identity. And again, that was the key kind of phrase that Ruben Amorim kept kind of mentioning a few times, was it's the identity. So, reading between the lines, he's going for his kind of philosophy and his style of play straight away. And that'll be summed up in the next kind of key quote that I want to go through with you as well. But again, kind of not just about winning and trophies, because we've heard all of that stuff before from previous managers. The kind of key phrases that kept coming out from Amorim was identity, style of play, character, and I absolutely loved it. I love the fact that he's focusing on more on those than he is because he knows that with that will come performances, will come results, and hopefully will come trophies again. But and then the kind of last quote I wanted to run through was, so when your first game is here, so your first game is here in 2 weeks, what kind of team can I expect from Ruben Amorim's United? He said, it's hard to say. I want to say beautiful things to you, but I'm really honest. I think you'll see an idea. You could like it or not, I don't know, but you will see an idea. You will see positioning. You will see something that we want to reach that kind of level. You will feel that. But we have to know that it's like 2 training sessions before the first match. This is the best league in the world. But if I have to say something to you, you would see an idea. This I can guarantee. So again, another kind of quote from Ruben Amorim where he was highlighting, the identity, the style of play, and going off of his own kind of comments there. I think he's going to set his style of play, and he's focusing more on that at the start than he is necessarily results, which again, going back to what I mentioned before, that's what Ineos were bothered about. If you go back to, covered it on a previous video a few months ago, I think it was from the Muppeteers, that were saying, look, Ineos are happy, well, not happy, but they can accept losing games. It's just the manner. They want to see an identity and a style of play. That's what Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, Dan Ashworth, they all kind of want that style of play and that system, whatever it is, in order to then build, because that's the foundations to build from. And then if your players are not good enough, then you can replace them. But at the minute, we don't know which players are good enough for a particular system, because we just don't have a system or a style of play, because it's chopped and changed so often. So that's what Amorim's kind of come in to do. And from himself, he said, like, literally on the first game or the second game, you're going to see an idea of what we're going to look like. We might not be very good at it, but I just hope that he kind of sticks to his guns, because I think one of the things that Erik ten Hag fell on his sword on was that he kind of openly admitted after a few months at the club was like, he can't play the Ajax style of play, so he's having to adapt to the United. Whereas I think if he'd stuck with his guns and just said, look, this is the style of play I want to play, and then he could have gone to the board and said, look, I need this player, I need that player, because they're just not good at what I want to do. And that's what I think Amorim's going to do. He's like, this is my style of play, this is the way we're going to play. We want character, we want teamwork, we want an identity on the pitch, and then you can kind of recruit better for that, which is the right approach. Obviously, we'll need to wait and see if and how that develops on the pitch, but it will give us an idea of maybe what transfers we're going to look at in the future and stuff like that as well. And I'll go for an update from Romano on transfers. But overall, I thought it was a really, really nice interview, really positive, made me excited. I am still quietly reserved. I need to see the proof on the pitch because I've been here before, but I thought he carried himself really well. I thought he answered the questions really, really well. If you haven't seen it, I genuinely encourage you to go and watch it, because I thought it was really, really good kind of first interview from Ruben Amorim, where he just seemed to get it, just seemed to kind of get not just what the club is about. Do you know what I mean? He just really had that kind of passion. and understood maybe what the core problems are at United, which I thought was really good. But let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you thought about the interview in the comments. Now, from our new head coach, for our previous head coach or manager, if you want to call him that, Ruud van Nistelrooy, gave a classy goodbye message to everyone. He said, to everyone at Manchester United Football Club, in particular the backroom staff, the players and the fans, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your incredible efforts and support. It has been a privilege and honour to represent the club as a player, coach and manager, and I will always cherish the memories we have shared together. To Manchester United will always have a special place in my heart, and I hope there are many more glory days at Old Trafford very soon, not only because I want the club to do well, but because you all deserve it. Take care. All the best and take care, Ruud. I thought that was a really nice, touch of class, but he is a classy person, isn't he, Ruud van Nistelrooy? So I thought that was a nice little goodbye from him that he shared on his social media. And then in regards to Ruud, apparently he's applied for the Coventry City job, so it'll be good to see him get a position, get back in management fairly quickly after leaving United, because I don't think he's done himself any harm at all with it. But if anything, I think it's built his reputation, because I thought he handled himself really well, even if it was just a short term as interim manager. I thought his press conferences, the way he conducted himself was really, really classy. So fair play to Ruud van Nistelrooy. Now let's move on to some other news. So Bruno Fernandes will return back to Manchester. So he picked up a yellow card in Portugal's game last night in their win. He looked unbelievable again, by the way. He scored an absolute worldie if you haven't seen it. So he's suspended for Portugal's next game. So he's another player that's going to be returning back to Carrington, which is really good. Obviously, Martinez came back early with a back injury. Not had an update on that. But we do actually have quite a few players back. So hopefully, we can see some of them on the training pitch. And obviously with Ruben Amorim starting now as well. So Bruno's coming back to Manchester. So he'll be training this week with the rest of the squads that aren't on international, which I actually think's good. I think it's good. Give him a bit of a rest as well, because he needs it, because he does play pretty much every game and every minute, so he doesn't like an opportunity to rest Bruno is always welcome, in my opinion. Let's move on to some transfer news. So Fabrizio Romano said Manchester United have not discussed names of players to sign with Ruben Amorim yet. He wants to assess the team first in training and matches. His opinion will be important in the recruitment, but does not mean that he will decide. So Romano is saying what I've been saying to you, or what's been kind of brought out by a few other people, the Muppeteers and stuff before, saying that Amorim's going to have the chance now to assess the squad. He's not going to necessarily pick the players or that they wants to go for. He might say, I want this position filling, and then it'll be down to the recruitment team and Dan Ashworth and all of those to actually go out and find players, and then with Ruben Amorim come up with like a short list, and then maybe go for their targets. And like I said before, we could have a total shift in like I'm looking at it thinking, okay, we might need a left back, maybe another forward, maybe a right winger, midfielder, and Amorim might turn somebody, into the left wing back if he's going to play the 4-3-4 formation, in which case our priority might shift to a centre back. Do you know what I mean? So he's going to be given time to assess that, but then he's not necessarily going to be picking players. The club want to recruit the players that they deem are fit enough and fit for purpose for the club. They're not going to go after necessarily, Amorim's targets. He's going to say, well, I might need a left back, or I might need a centre back, or whatever, and the club are going to go and find players that fit that particular, and that's why it all needs to be linked together. We need a style of play in order to do that. We need a system. We need something to build off of, so we can recruit for that particular system as well, which is important. So I think that's the right approach. And then Romano also said on Christopher Nkunku, if you remember back to a couple of days ago, there was rumours about Nkunku coming to United. Manchester United have not started any sort of contact with to sign Christopher Nkunku. That came from Fabrizio Romano. I did say take that story with a pinch of salt at the time, but it's one of those, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Christopher Nkunku, I think his injury record is horrendous at Chelsea, and I agree with all of you that commented on that video to say not another Chelsea player that's injury prone coming in. Obviously, we've had our fingers burnt so far with Mason Mount. So, Christopher Nkunku, no contact as of yet, according to Fabrizio Romano. Now, another player that we've been heavily linked with over the last few days is Nypan. So Manchester United believe they may need to make a decision on whether to move for Sverre Nypan soon to avoid being beaten to his signature. That came from Dean Jones. Now, if you remember back to the stories Apparently, he's going to be visiting multiple Premier League clubs in a similar way to what Bellingham did, and a few other players in the past have all gone out and, had the red carpets rolled out for them from other clubs. So according to that report, United might have to make a decision, because if they don't go for him, you can pretty much, there'll be other teams that do want him. He is a really, really top talent. He's a United fan. I think we've got a vested interest in him. It's just whether we can get that deal done in January or not. We'll keep an eye on it, but it's another kind of, another story linking us with the player, and there's no smoke without fire. I would just still like to see a little bit more credibility, being honest with you, but he does look like he's definitely a player of interest. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then the final story I've got for you is regarding Alphonso Davies of Real Madrid. And Alphonso Davies have an agreement he will sign in January. That came from two Spanish outlets that are actually quite credible when it comes to Real Madrid news. They're not the most credible sources, but Madrid Extra's got like 1.5 million followers on Twitter, so I'm going to assume that they're fairly decent when it comes to Real Madrid news. So Alphonso Davies did say that there was, it's always been rumoured that he would go to Real Madrid, so I don't think that should come as a surprise to anybody. I do like the idea, though, that if United did go for him, or at least we're in the conversation, because that's all you can do with those sort of players. If they're out of contract and they're top players, you might not get them, because he has apparently had a pre-agreement to go to Real Madrid for like 2 years or something now. But to win the race, you've got to be in the race. So at least we've kind of tried. I'll bring you any updates if they come out. But it looks like, well, it was always likely that he was going to go to Real Madrid anyway. Let's be truthful with you. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Let me know what you think about all the other topics discussed in today's video. I do enjoy reading them. I really like hearing what other Man United fans have got to say about things. So share them in the comments below. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.